How's it going, wrestling fans? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wrestle Report, episode 49 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm done.
Plenty to talk about. We got pay-per-views coming up in the next couple weeks. We got one this weekend. We have a couple returns to speak of, not on the AEW side for once. Some surprise debuts back in WWE. So plenty of things to get to. So thanks for joining us here live, or if you listen to the podcast version after the fact. So a lot of crazy stuff to talk about. As I just said, we're going to start with WWE, and I tried to sum it up the best I can with this card here. The show's getting better. I don't think there's another way to put it. It's become leaps and bounds better. And I know everybody wants to put that on Triple H, and I'm sure that's a lot of it, but I just think he's putting the guys in situations to succeed. And I'm not crazy about everything that's happened necessarily, but it's a night and day difference, and it definitely makes you, even if you don't watch, all 2 to 3 hours of Monday or Friday, you at least care what's going on because you know there's some quality to the product that's been happening.
Oh yeah, man, for sure, man. It's definitely leaps and bounds better. I feel like they always had it, but it was more of a creative thing that was holding the wrestlers back. That's how I felt in the scripts and stuff. It's definitely nice hearing banned words. It's 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 getting a lot better, man. Even if you was to cancel out the returns and stuff, I feel like this is definitely a better product that they're putting out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, with no disrespect to like Dexter Loomis, but the show isn't like massively better because he's back, but it's the way he is returned that has been interesting, the way he's popping up everywhere. I'm pretty sure he kidnapped The Miz last week. Have we checked on him? Is he okay? I don't know if we've heard any updates from that yet, but like prior to this, if somebody returned, they would have just like their music would have hit and they would have walked out. Maybe they jumped somebody from behind and they would have been another guy on the roster by their second week. So, and like Johnny Gargano is back. I was going to bring that up as well. We don't know where that's going yet. He just came back this week, but just the fact that it happened made the show very interesting. And we talked about last week that my favorite thing that's been happening lately is the added importance to the mid-card titles, to the point that I don't even want to call them mid-card titles right now, because due to the way Roman Reigns' schedule is, obviously he's been around to promote the Clash that's coming up. The U.S. title, they've had multi-man matches to have number one contenders. Same with the IC title. I don't know if the U.S. title has a match at the Clash, but I know the IC title does. It's going to be Walter versus Sheamus, and that's a match that people have wanted for a very long time. And it's nothing that it didn't take anything crazy to make it happen either. It's just like it made sense to put these guys against each other, and doing it for a belt just makes that much more sense. So really, if I can add one attribute to any of this, it's just a common sense factor that's gone up.
Yes, I wanted to say something about the Dexter Loomis thing. I don't know if you've seen NXT this past Tuesday, but he also showed up at NXT
Yeah,
under the ring with Indy Hartwell, and
right.
then I like the continuity. He walked her out, gave her a letter, then walked outside the building, and there was cops and stuff surrounded him.
Yeah,
So I like that continuity of them bringing that story from Raw to NXT. So I like that. And you are right. It's nice to see that the IC title and US title are getting a better platform than they was when Vince was in there for the past like 5 years, I would say. Um, like I just saw this random tweet that this is gonna be the first time since last SummerSlam that the IC title will be on a premium live event,
yeah.
which is
That's crazy. That should have never been the case.
yeah,
And to go back to what you said about the NXT thing, that's one of the storylines that kind of like took me out of NXT. I didn't care about the double wedding and all the crap that happened, but at least now it's tied up with a little bow. You can't bring this guy back and like his wife is on NXT, and you can't ignore that was a storyline that you've made. So just little things like that. I agree. Like I didn't, not that I cared about that storyline, but I got to admit, 'cause I saw the clip like when he came out and they got to embrace or whatever, that crowd went apeshit, and that's what it's all about. Like if you can make your crowd do that 2 to 3 times a show, you got a good show, and that's all that really matters.
oh yeah, for sure, man.
And I'm gonna jump back to the Johnny Gargano thing because that was definitely the icing on the cake on Raw. It's funny that he debuted back in WWE. I shouldn't keep saying debuted; it's more of a return. But he returned while AEW was actually in Cleveland that week because that's what everybody thought. Like, oh, they'll debut him in Cleveland because that's where he's from or whatever. And they're in Cleveland 2 days later, but Johnny had already debuted. So I thought that was interesting. Where do you think he go? Do you think they're putting what is it, the way back together? Because it's those are the people that have kind of been up since Triple H took over, and Loomis is coming back. Theory is at a level that he hadn't been before. Ciampa has been a mid card title hunter now, and then Gargano's back. Do you expect that that's where we're going here, or do you think Gargano's here for another mission?
I think Gargano is going to be he's going to go against Austin Theory more than likely at at Clash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he's going to be there for like a mid card title leading up into the WWE title. Yeah, because I remember him saying that he wanted to win these type of championships. I think first though, Ciampa and the Miz might go into a feud and break them up, and then Johnny goes. I would think that'd be probably the first one to go after.
You broke up for me. Can you repeat that last sentence?
I think him and Ciampa are gonna go against go for the tag team championships later on down the line.
Yeah, that would be great. And with the Usos having both belts, they're eventually gonna have to figure out, like, do they make it one title that they can go for? Because there has been rumors that USA Network isn't happy that like there isn't a world champion on their show. So it's definitely been discussed if they need to split, either have Roman drop the belts or split the titles back up. And like, I'm still waiting we're only a week away from the Clash, but if they're going to make it work, like when him and Drew were in the ring, I thought maybe that promo was going to lead to something about like, I've been WWE champion during the pandemic or whatever, and I want, that's the title I want. I don't care about your other title. You can hang on to that for another 700 days. Like, I didn't know if they were going to lean into that a little bit, and they still can. There's still time. But at the moment, it's still for both belts. But it wouldn't shock me if they find a way to make it, maybe Theory comes out and, it's like, yeah, you won Money in the Bank, but the contract is for a particular title. So maybe he, like, jumps in there, makes a pin, and he gets to pick which title he gets. That would be a little interesting because I don't think that would ever happen again. But I do think it's still on the table because clearly Roman's thing is the universal title, like 700 plus days with the universal title. I don't think they care that much if he drops the WWE title. So it wouldn't shock me if they find a way to wrestle that away from him at some point.
Yeah, I'm all for that too because Raw does need a world championship there. Because right now we only have on Raw right now really the 24/7 title and the US title. That's it.
Right.
Right at the moment, and then on SmackDown you got the World Championship and the Universal, and you have the Unified Tag Team Champions there too as well, and girls women's titles. Both got women's titles, but I think for sure, if not that, they're gonna have probably the women's title, women's tag team championship over there if they don't break up the men's tag team. So hey, we'll see.
I don't mind the unified tag team titles as much. Like if they do break them back up again, like I'm cool with that. But there's not that many tag teams.
Yeah.
So it seems to actually fit where they're at right now. Like they're even down some teams that they do have, like RK Bro, Randy's injured, so that's one less team that they have and stuff. But like with you still had two of them, like I like Alpha Academy. They're very entertaining. They've won the titles like 2 or 3 times already. So I don't think like what are they going to do? Go win it again? Is that really going to like do anything for anybody? The teams they have, they know what to do with. The Street Profits, I think they can still win another 1 or 2 before they ultimately go, maybe not their separate ways, but like where they're no longer teaming, and that's their main goal. Because I think you mentioned last time, I would like to see them eventually just go the way of New Day. Like maybe they get split up in the draft and like they're still cool with each other. They don't have to like, one doesn't have to turn on the other, and you could just have Montez on Raw in my head makes more sense. And then Dawkins could be on SmackDown, like doing stuff. Like I could totally see them eventually doing that. But there's only like, I don't know if I did the math, like maybe 5 true tag teams, right? I mean, there's not much, maybe 2 more or so, but like 2 belts for 5 tag teams doesn't make sense. So like if they end up, and we said it before, just bring back the gold plated, black strapped tag belts eventually, and you're good to go again. I think that would add to the continuity too, because that's what the belts looked like before the brand split. And then there's been rumors that we are going to get another draft. There's rumors that maybe they're going to do away with the brand split. I don't think we know where we're going with that part yet. So in the meantime, I think one set of tag titles would be good. And then you can keep the mid-card titles as just, that's what makes the brands different. The U.S. title and the U.S. title on the USA Network makes a lot of sense. So I think there's still some admin to be done here. Even with all these improvements, Triple H has been in charge for maybe a month now. So like we got to give this man time to work. So I don't want to have a whole wish list immediately,
That is true.
So what do you let's I know Clash, we still got another week and they're probably still going to add some matches here, but the most interesting one for me with the Riddle and Rollins thing, I wonder if they just purposely took this off SummerSlam because there was a lot of matches already and they wanted another big match for the Clash, because they came out at SummerSlam and like started, beating up each other or whatever. So clearly they were both, in condition to do that. So I don't know what injury would have prevented them. So that was an interesting way to do that. But I did find it weird that, that match got pushed all the way to this show.
I'm fine with it because, like you said, I feel like SummerSlam was just right with the amount of matches they did have. So I'm totally fine with them moving it to Clash. I would have probably had it different though. I would have probably had Seth if Riddle was actually hurt, have Seth have a match, and you could have brought Gargano just for that match, or you could have had some other surprise happen, or hell, give me Ciampa versus Seth. That would have been cool too. I would have thought, just to have a match that would have been cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they gave them between the pull apart. They essentially gave you like a couple minute segment, so you saw Rollins on the show at least.
Yeah,
we touched on this too, just while we're talking about new WWE news right now. We talked about it right before we came on the air, and I didn't have it in the script, but I put it in now because I think it is important. The cancellation, for lack of a better word, of NXT UK, and the word has come out that NXT Europe will take shape sometime next year, which I'm personally surprised. I'm not saying there hasn't been good matches on NXT UK, because even if I don't watch it all the time, you see clips and those guys are talented and everything. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. I thought the pandemic really did them in, because even after the pandemic, like they weren't putting them in anything that would allow them to bring in a lot of big fans or whatever. And frankly, it really killed the UK independent scene, because they signed up all the people that everybody knew, and like ICW and places like that are still around in the UK, but like they're not what they were. So maybe some of these guys can go back out and flush that scene up. And like, I wonder if they're just going to rename that UK title, or are they going to come up with a whole new belt? Because it's really weird how they were supposed to have a tournament for the UK champion. I'm sure they filmed it all, but Tyler Bate just came out at NXT like, by the way, I know we haven't aired any of this, but I won that tournament. And I thought that was really strange.
Yeah, I thought it was strange too. But I see that they're moving to something with Clash. I'm sorry, Worlds Collide. I said that earlier too. Yeah. At Worlds Collide, I feel like they're gonna come up with a whole new belt, and then bring that NXT, that UK belt, to have that just stored and ready for the Europe. Because they're doing unification matches at Worlds Collide this next week as well.
Yeah, which that's a little like clear. I don't think any of the UK guys can win, because that would mean their title survives, I would imagine. So it's just going to be a clean sweep for the NXT, like regular NXT guys. So like, I'm not saying the matches aren't going to be good, but it seems a little predictable to do a show like that.
I'm not 100% sure about that, because I think this would be a perfect way to bring up Braun Breaker, to bring up Mandy Rose, and if you wanted to bring up the Creed brothers, because apparently that's what they're going to do too, have that the Creed Brothers versus the UK tag team versus the NXT tag team. You could
Right.
bring you. Could, I feel like that's a good way to bring people up. Unfortunately, I wish the UK had like a secondary title like the Intercontinental or the North American
The North
Championship.
American. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could also have out there Carmelo Hayes versus whoever that person would have been.
Yeah.
But I still think
Basically, I
it's
want
gonna be good.
Carmelo Hayes on my TV screen, is what you're saying, and I don't doubt you for that
Yes,
one bit, 'cause that guy is
yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah, for sure.
So that's interesting. So you're saying there's actually a chance that Tyler Bate finds a way to beat Braun Breaker so that he can go to the. I didn't really consider that, but I mean, they need more, even with the returns. Like, they fired and released over 200 people over the past 2 years. It feels like the roster is better now because hey, we just got reminded that Sami Zayn is good at things and Kevin Owens can like be a main eventer again. You know, stuff that we just didn't have for the past 2 years. But they need more. They need fresh talent up there for sure. And
Yeah,
like when the Creed brothers won the NXT UK tag titles, it's like you knew something was up because there's no reason to do that because they're obviously going to be here in America the whole time. So that's interesting if that could happen. And where would you? I guess Braun Breaker, you got to put him on Raw if that's the case, right?
yeah. I think he'll go on Raw and then have Mandy Rose on SmackDown. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and there's other guys that I think they could get moved up too, so you could bring in some these UK guys. Like I want to see Cameron Grimes on my TV screen. I want to see Winnie
Yeah.
Chu on my TV on SmackDown or Raw. I want to see some of these guys that probably have won titles there on Raw and SmackDown. I think that'll be great additions. And hell, you can bring some of the tag teams you got down there too. Like
Yeah.
like I said, the Creed brothers and them. That's just another that's another title, another challenger for the Usos. And then you could split up those titles because it looks like Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma had got moved up last week. That's what it looks like.
I had a thought there. I was gonna say, with all the movement though, NXT is gonna. I wonder if Triple H is just gonna make NXT. This is where I was going with this. Is he not gonna fight the battle of fixing NXT? Let them be NXT be for these like former college athletes, and like I'm just gonna make NXT the main shows instead. Like, do you think he's gonna go out of his way to sign indie talent in NXT again, or he's just gonna do what he can with his boys on Raw and SmackDown?
I think he's gonna end up eventually like going after some free agents and moving them and having them start up in NXT so they could get with how the WWE product is. And I mean, unless you're like a well polished free agent, like so if MJF was to come to WWE, he's not gonna go to NXT.
Right.
He'll go straight to the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
But like other people, like people from probably NWA, if they're not like if Nick Aldis was to come to WWE, he's not going to NXT.
No, definitely
he's already well known. He's gonna go straight to Raw or SmackDown.
Right.
But I would say like the little like the people that's not as popular but got some credibility to their name, they'll go to NXT.
Yeah, I could see that. That could be the case. You mentioned the 24/7 title earlier. I still want the storyline to be Sami Zayn winning the 24/7 title because of the Usos telling him like everyone else in the bloodline has titles and you're not pulling your weight. I would love for him to strut into that locker room with the 24/7 title and act like he did something. I think that'd be hilarious. The dynamic they have going with them is pretty great right now.
Yeah.
You got any other WWE news before we move to AEW?
I'm actually excited to see that the triple threat match at Worlds Collide, the women's champion triple threat match. I've never really seen Blair Davenport, the former B Priestley, in a match before, and I never seen I'm not even gonna try to attempt her name, but the final boss as she goes by. I've never seen her fight either, so I think that might be my favorite, the most anticipated match that I might want to see because I don't care what no one says. Mandy Rose is decent in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
She has some decent moves. Yes, she has the wardrobe malfunctions all the time, but I feel like she's great in the ring.
It's funny with a lot of the NXT UK guys. I don't watch a lot of UK, but back when What Culture still had their own promotion, the WCPW, that's where a lot of these guys came from. Like Joe Coffey was there, Mark Andrews was there, like a lot of the I can't remember his name. Joseph Connors, he didn't last in UK as long as, he was there for the first year or whatever, but like I know a lot of the guys from that and haven't seen them because it's like it's just another show to try and watch. Like it's hard to like that Level Up show what they turned like 205 Live into.
Yeah,
I don't mind seeing clips of it, but it's like that's just I can't. It's another show to watch. That's just too much.
I definitely
So,
understand what you mean.
yeah, I mean, like if someone says like, "Hey, there's this really good match on this show, you can check it out." You like
Yeah,
I know you
yeah,
don't watch the NWA, but I tell you like, "Hey, this match happened." Halfway through the show, here's the YouTube link. Like you'll check out. But everybody wants to see good wrestling. They don't always want to have to comb through all these different shows to find them. But if people are clamoring about something, you're going to go out
I'm
there
gonna
and
check it
watch
out.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt. So we're going to jump to AEW now. A lot of craziness in the past week. We didn't get to do an episode last week because we're still in baseball season. We're almost done with that. And when we are, we'll be able to do episodes with more regularity. But shit hit the fan in AEW. There's no other way to put it. CM Punk maybe went in business for himself, calling out Hangman when Hangman didn't expect it. Hangman apparently found a way to insult Punk in their promo, which I've heard that promo many times since. I don't know what pissed Punk off in that necessarily, but clearly something did. And then we expect we're going to get Moxley and Punk at All Out for the Unified Championship. They said, screw it, we're going to have it this week in Cleveland instead, which the fact that it's in Cleveland for people that followed CM Punk's career is actually pretty significant in a weird way. But you get the match, and it's like, okay, they're trying to pop a rating, fine, and then they're going to figure out what to do at All Out. And like, if you polled 100 people, maybe 10 say Moxley was going to win this. Like, it seemed pretty obvious that Punk was going to win. And then in just under 3 minutes, John Moxley squashes CM Punk after he goes for a roundhouse kick and falls because of his injured ankle, which I want to get this out of the way now. I've seen way too many memes of people complaining that he hit Moxley with his right foot and sold his left ankle. Like, I don't know if you've never threw a kick before, never kicked a ball before. If you put all your weight on that ankle and it's injured, there's you've had knee and leg related injuries from your football playing days. If you put all your weight on a leg that's not quite healed, that could happen. So I'm
yes.
sorry that there was a group of the population that didn't understand that can happen, but that was a really well done thing, and it looked like it might have been real. We are now hearing more that maybe that was the plan. Like, we might still get a rematch at All Out, is what I'm hearing now.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. Sorry, I was just checking Fightful Select to see if there was any news.
Okay, yeah.
About some stuff that we're talking about here. Yeah, I was surprised about the whole match. I was literally at work sitting there watching, and I'm like, oh man, it's already a coincidence. Like they put this in the middle of the show. This was not
right.
This is
Just real quick though, the reason they did that, they apparently said, this has a 60-minute time limit, and if we put it on now, TBS has said we can go over 30 minutes for the trios match. So they actually covered their bases on that. But it was strange to know, like, oh shit, this is happening now. Like it was very surprising, but they at least explained it. I'm sure you couldn't hear it when you're watching it at work, but they did explain that. So
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because I remember that they did say that there was the trios match, and I was like, oh, I would have thought this match would have main evented just because it's a unification match.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing what I saw, I could see why they did this. It definitely, I felt like it hurt the show a lot because a lot of people was confused. But then at the end of the night, everyone was more intrigued because they actually sat there and thought about like what they're going to do at All Out now. Because you get you get excited. You trying to figure out like who's gonna be in the match. Are they gonna have a second match? Because you know it is in Chicago. So I mean, you got the come up story of CM Punk losing the title and then winning it back at All Out in Chicago, which
So
I thought
here's
that
my
was cool.
bless you. Here's my theory on the whole thing. I think it's possible that this becomes a Punk heel turn in the sense that I tried to come back too quickly for you people, and look where that got me. That's one theory that I have. My other theory is they want to make this interim title thing matter. And with Moxley winning, he's now officially a two-time champion. Because even the way the UFC does it, if Punk would have won, it didn't really count as anything, I guess, in a way. So now he's won it. He's a two-time champion. And now you can turn around and have Punk win it all out. You get that moment. And he's now a two-time champion, too, for what that's worth. Because Punk is now, at the moment, the only AEW world champion to ever have a reign without one successful title defense. Which is insane, because that's not something you want to preserve. You don't want that to be the truth forever. So I definitely think if they are going to go that route, he will find a way to win. On Rampage tonight, as we're shooting this live on Friday, there's apparently CM Punk has sent in footage, which I like how they did it this way, because I like when they don't do the, oh, we don't know what's going to happen, but he's like in a studio that was clearly prepped for him to be in. Apparently this is Punk shot footage, and we're going to show it to you on Rampage, which is very, very old school, and I'm looking forward to seeing. And we're really going to clear up this a little bit once we see that tonight. So I'm curious if that explains it that way, because frankly, we only got 2 weeks left. If it's not Punk, I don't know who, unless it's MJF, because people have brought up for some reason I think MJF's coming back, sooner than later at this point. But it was definitely a shock. I think the way it went down. The selling of the ankle, I thought, was brilliant. Like, if he's not actually hurt, which there doesn't appear to be any reports that he is, that just shows how great of a seller that Punk is. And, I think there was the rumors that he was going to walk out and everything. And I think we can chalk those up to being not true at this point. It was just kind of hyperbole at that point. And the significance of this happening in Cleveland is funny, because when he walked out of WWE, it was in Cleveland. When he had his disastrous UFC debut, was also in Cleveland, and now he loses a world championship in 3 minutes in Cleveland. And I think there's another Cleveland-related mishap in his career that I'm not thinking of right now. But like it fits right in with what's going on. And not to mention, Moxley's from Cincinnati, not Cleveland, but he was definitely the hometown boy in this show. Like, he got a big pop. Punk's pop was a little subdued. And I think it was because, like, you just had a lot of Moxley people in there.
I definitely can see that. And I did not know that stuff about him in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm almost certain there's even a third thing that happened. I don't know if it was like I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure there's even like a third thing that's happened before this. So very interesting enough to see what's going on there. And like I said, Rampage isn't always must-watch TV, and there's some good matches on this. Trios tournament's been great. I don't want to discredit what's going on there. That's another thing. That match was so good afterwards that it did pull people out of that confusion, and they're like, all right, we'll figure that stuff out later, because what's in front of me right now is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I didn't get see. I don't really watch a lot of Will Ospreay stuff or Aussie Open stuff.
Yeah,
but they're really good in the ring. They're fantastic. Like, I think the only Ospreay, like, there's only like a handful of matches I've seen of Will Ospreay. The Ricochet one, of course, from back in the day.
Yeah.
And then the three he's had in AEW.
Yeah. I also like the rematch of Ricochet, because they did it. I still don't know if this was planned or not, but like 2 minutes into the match, the top rope breaks, and they still have like a banger, because they wanted to prove that they could do it without, as much flippy shit, I guess. So that one's also really good too. But no, I kind of enjoy that about, like, there's like a myth about Will Ospreay if you don't watch New Japan. And like, for him to come here and show everyone, like, you can almost point people out in the crowd where they're like, oh no, this guy's every bit as good as he's been told to me that he was. Because there is nothing worse than, like, there are people that, it's crazy to think, maybe we're just getting old, but like, there are people in crowds right now that have never seen CM Punk WWE stuff, Ring of Honor stuff, like IWA stuff. Like this is their first thing of CM Punk, and without the myth of him, there's people that could say, no, I don't really get it. Like he's a little overrated if you don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
So for like Will Ospreay to still be in his prime and can still show everybody just how good he is, I think it's. And I know nothing of the Aussie Open guys, but what I've seen from them has been very good.
Yeah. them boys looking. It remind me a lot of the Shield type, because some of the trio stuff that they do together, like one is Roman, the other one is John, and then the other one is Seth. Will Ospreay, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, the bigger dude being Roman. You mentioned the Shield. How about the Punk line from last week where he was, Moxley is the third best guy in his own group, and that's a trend for him in his career.
Yeah. The Kingston one, I thought that was a good one too.
So he said he's the second best Kingston, but he also called him the third best Eddie. And the first Eddie
is Eddie
Guerrero because they faced off in the Indies. And there's a really crazy match, and you can find it on YouTube in a second. It's Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and CM Punk in IWA Mid-South. And it's Eddie right before he got rehired. Basically, this match got him rehired with the WWF.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty certain this is before Ray debuts, and I think he doesn't even have his mask for this match because it's like when he was wearing the camo long pants, like right when WCW died, if I remember correctly. So that's clearly the Eddie, and let's consider Kingston is the third one. I could not figure. I've racked my brain for a couple days. I can't figure out who the other Eddie might be. Maybe my only guess is Eddie Edwards because they would have been in Ring of Honor at the same time.
Okay.
The American Wolves, and now he's in Impact and everything. That's my only guess, which is fair, because that guy's very good too. But I don't know. But the Kingston line got me too, because I mean, him and Kofi are boys. They've been tag team champions and everything. So that was very funny to see. Little bit more AEW news for the video game fans out there. We finally there's some video game convention going on in Germany right now. THQ Nordic is putting on. And we finally got a full match of no cuts, no edits, just, bell-to-bell action. They did Adam Cole versus Kenny Omega. From what I saw, I liked it. I don't know about you, but I've never been like a graphic snob in video games. So like the fact that it doesn't look the way 2K22 does doesn't bother me at all. And frankly, if it was just a clone of that game, what would be the point of buying it? So I don't mind that it's a little more... Because some people are like, oh, it's AEW. People are going to hype it up regardless of what it is. I'm okay that it's a little more arcadey looking, and it's a little tiny bit like the figures that I collect, like other than like the AEW ones that are out now. Like if I go and buy the WWE one, I kind of like the more like statuesque ones. I don't need every little detail. I kind of I buy some of the retros still now just because they look cool on a shelf. And like with video games, like it reminds me a lot of the graphics. Remind me a lot of Here Comes the Pain, like the PS2 era graphics. And those are some of the best selling games, and those were some of the games that non-wrestling fans bought. I don't think anybody bought 2K22 that wasn't a wrestling fan. We bought it and we liked it. I give it like a 9 out of 10. I thought that this game's been great. I'm still playing it pretty consistently. But what was your thoughts on it, seeing it from your perspective?
I had no issues with it. It reminded me a lot of I just look at it like NBA 2K versus NBA Live. That's how I kind of look at it.
Okay, I can see that.
The graphics look decent. Like you said, they're not like the 2K graphics, but they're still doable. I do like the arcaded like mode type of.
The controls seem really easy to pick up and play, from what I could see.
Yeah, not like in 2K, you gotta hit square, triangle to do some crazy move or.
And I don't mind that exists. Like I figured it out after a while.
Yeah.
Like I watched the whole Twitch stream about this, and the guy that was there from THQ said the goal was to make it easy to pick up and play, but difficult to master. And I'm sure that's the case with this,
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And I'm still gonna get it. I'm a wrestling video game fan. Like you said, I still play 2K to this day.
Yeah.
So it just gives me another game to go out there and buy.
I mean, I remember one of the craziest days talking video games for me, me and Jeremy pre-ordered the TNA game, and that game was as arcadey as it comes, man. And they AAA basically reskinned it, and I have the AAA version of that game as well. But that was so much fun, and the hype of that coming out, because like another company making a wrestling game, and hadn't happened in 15 years up to that point. So pretty, 12, I guess, yeah, 15 years, I guess. So pretty crazy that it exists. And again, I think the NBA Live comparison like is a great one, because in the years when it was good, like, because it got really bad at the end there for NBA Live, I would almost put it up to even like Madden and NFL 2K, the way that was,
Yeah.
Because like, and like the NBA Playgrounds game, it's basically NBA Jam, but like, remade a little bit. Like that game got a lot of play from people, and I remember being really hyped for Battlegrounds too. I wanted that arcadey, game, and the problem with that, I did buy it, and I have it on for my Switch because I figured the cartooniness worked well on a Switch and a handheld game. The issue with that game is everybody does the same like 5 moves, other than like their finisher will be different. Like you do the finisher combo, and if you're Roman, you'll do the spear. If you're Big Show, you do the choke slam. But other than that, you like backdrop people, you suplex people, you clothesline them, and you like basic slam them. And it's like no matter who you pick, no matter what, for whatever reason, like you could be Jeff Hardy, or you could be Carl Anderson, you could be Roman. Like everyone played the same, and that was the big problem with that game. If they would have simply just ported over the moves from the 2K games and gave everyone a true moveset, game would have been fun. I'd still be playing that game, and it's funny how they were able to screw that one up, because 2K, the way they pay attention to detail, you would think, because like you play that Playgrounds game for NBA, like if you're Kyrie Irving or if you're Shaq, the guy plays different, and that's the point. If nobody plays different, it doesn't matter who you play as.
Yep.
So we were talking, just being fan of wrestling video games, and I'm going to throw this on the spot for you here. Top 3 wrestling video games that you've played in your life. I can go first if you need a minute to think.
Man, I already got some, man.
Okay.
Of course, number 3, I gotta go. SmackDown versus Live, the one with John Cena on the cover.
Okay.
I think that it was John Cena, CM Punk, I believe, and someone else.
I think that's 08.
08? Okay, that sounds about right.
I'll be right back. You give me your list, because I have them sitting, most of them sitting over here. So, keep going.
So I got that. I have No Mercy, of course, at number 2. N64 No Mercy, and then my number 1. Actually, I'm sorry. No Mercy was number 1, and number 2 was damn. What is number 2? Let's do Here Comes the Pain is number 2, just because it's legendary. It was one of my first ones I played.
All right, so I grabbed a stack of them real quick just to show off the collection. So if you're on the podcast version of this, you're gonna want to pull this up. But I wasn't lying when I said I have the AAA game. Let me get the lighting here. I have the AAA game. I have the Impact game. And then I have SmackDown Shut Your Mouth is there. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth is here. I have SmackDown Just Bring It. This one's kind of underrated to me.
Pretty good too.
SmackDown, most people will pick one of these. 06, Here Comes the Pain, as you mentioned, is in there. I put them in the wrong order. But I have 06, 07, and 08. This is what I like to call the GM mode trilogy, because it had all the great modes through those. So, and then one that not everyone is going to be familiar with, but Fire Pro Wrestling. There's been many versions of this. This is the PS2 version. There's now one on the PS4. So number 3, I'm going to go the Fire Pro series, because they're not that different. They're 2D graphics. They look the same in every game. They just add different wrestlers. So the Fire Pro series, I'm going to call number 3. I'm going to go SmackDown versus Raw 2007 is the other one I will put in there. And then just because that I loved 06. 07 is just 06 with a better roster. because like CM Punk is debuted at this time, Jeff Hardy's back, the legends are better. They have all the ECW legends in it. So really, it's just remember when games used to actually build off each other, like game one of a series would come out, and then by the time the second one came out, it's like all the stuff you liked, and then now there's more of it. Now it's like
yeah.
I feel like they even when they make a sequel of a game, they start from ground zero. So like it's not really better or worse, it's just different. That's what I feel about a lot of games these days. And then number one is a tie between No Mercy and WCW NWO Revenge because it's the same game, same engine, different rosters, and that's of course on the N64. And there's a lot. I have the Showdown Legends of Wrestling series back there as well. A lot of good ones, but I just wanted to show off some of those there. So definitely a lot of great wrestling games, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to adding it to my collection. We've heard it's supposed to be out by the end of the year. Pre-sales are out, so that means that's got to mean something, I guess.
Yeah, I've been seeing advertisement on my Instagram for the Switch version of it.
I definitely am going to buy it for PlayStation first, but I could totally see myself rebuying it for Switch to have it on the go. That's definitely something like when the new NCAA football game comes out, for example, that's not coming out on Switch at all, so I know what I'm getting it for. But for this, I'm definitely going to start with PlayStation and then move into Switch if it's worth buying a second time.
Exactly.
All right. Before we get out of here, guys, we mentioned we have pay-per-views coming up in 2 weeks, but there is actually a good wrestling pay-per-view coming up this weekend. NWA 74th anniversary show pay-per-view is this weekend. I'm rocking the shirt right now that I got from NWA merch, just trying to support the cause. It's a 2-night event. There's like 13 matches on night one. There's like 10 matches on night two. Not going to bore everybody going through all of them, but I'm just going to hit the highlights here that way, and you decide for yourself if you think you want to check it out. So they are bringing back the United States Tag Team Championships, and there's going to be a battle royal with a bunch of teams to crown the first champions. Bully Ray is coming out of retirement to face Mike Knox in a tables match in something that they're pulling back to like the WWE ECW days where like when Mike Knox was on that and he tried to reach out to Bully as like a mentor and Bully didn't want nothing to do with him. And they're like pulling from that. So that's probably one of the better built storylines, I would say, for this whole show. Homicide is defending the junior heavyweight title against Kerry Morton, the son of the legendary tag team wrestler from the Rock and Roll Express. So he's looking to make a name for himself on the show. Matt Cardona is officially cleared for action. He is wrestling somebody of his choice. So we got to tune in to see who that might be. I'm interested if it's gonna be funny. Is he gonna bring somebody new in? Is it just gonna be him and Brian Myers? Like who knows? Nick Aldis is facing Flip Gordon to add to that good series. If you're an MLW fan, Davey Richards is on the show defending the National Openweight Championship. The main event, of course, of the second night is Trevor Murdoch defending the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Tyrus, who is also the television champion. EC3 is on this show too. A couple other. I'm just going to name some people you probably heard of. Chris Adonis, the former Chris Masters. The Pope is facing Rodney Mack. There's some blast from the past names for you. And we got a few other. National champion Jack Stain defending against the Masked Man Scion, who was the son of Austin Idol. And he has put out a hit on himself saying if he doesn't win a championship in the NWA by the end of the calendar year, he will leave the NWA forever. So that's kind of the story that he's got going there. So a lot of good shows. And I'm the first to admit that if you watch Power and it's not always for you, I think there's improvements that could be made to NWA Power to make it more entertaining for people. Their pay-per-views always do well. They get out of the studio. They're in a big arena. They're at the Chase in St. Louis, which is a legendary wrestling venue from the Harley race days. They really turn it on for the pay-per-view. So I know the 2 nights is a little hard for people to watch both, but definitely check it out. I think it's going to be some good wrestling, and it's really going to warm you up for the All Out / Clash at the Castle weekend coming up next week. And I don't know if you know this. I looked up where the Clash of the Castle show is happening, and it's a stadium show, which I did not know. That's going to be crazy. It's in where like the Wales national team for soccer or rugby, would play their games or whatever. So it's an outdoor venue from what I can tell. Looks really cool and all, but that's not a castle. They should just call it the Clash. They should just call it the Clash because it's not in a castle. How disappointed would you be if you bought a ticket to Clash at the Castle and you show up and you're in a soccer stadium.
Hey, unless they bring like a castle for like the entrance and stuff.
They really better. Like I'm interested to see. Like, and I think it's really going to show. They haven't been over to that side of the world in a long time, and I think it's gonna be a tryout thing. I think since NXT did the London stuff was like the last time they've been. I think NXT Takeover London, I think is what they called it, but that was probably the last time they were in a thing like that. So, like I said, we got another week. We'll probably come back and truly preview those shows. But in the meantime, like I said, check out NWA 74 this weekend, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.